In the field of healthcare, people are constantly looking for ways to make things easier and faster for everyone to benefit. Blood tests are an important feature that disclose a lot about our bodies. Elizabeth Holmes, an entrepreneur, developed a new method for performing blood tests that has the potential to dramatically transform healthcare. Her breakthrough proposal drew international attention, and she received financial help to make it a reality. However, there is a darker aspect to this narrative. In this video, we will look at Elizabeth Holmes' terrible story, which involves a big $10 billion scam. Elizabeth Holmes was born in Washington, D.C. Her father worked for government agencies, frequently managing rescue efforts, and she grew up with a passion to make the world better. She acquired a strong work ethic from a young age and was a dedicated student who aspired to be a billionaire via her efforts. She also learned Mandarin by launching a business selling software that translates computer code. Her great-great-grandfather, a surgeon, inspired her to pursue a career in medicine. However, once she discovered her dread of needles, she modified her purpose. Holmes applied to Stanford University and was accepted in 2001, where she studied chemical engineering. Elizabeth Holmes came to Stanford University in 2002 full of ideas. She claimed that early on she began to consider starting her own firm. She met with a medical professor to explain her innovative concept. Holmes aimed to create a patch that would scan the wearer for illnesses and deliver medications. However, the professor attempted to convey to her that her theory had several fundamental faults. Holmes was undeterred, a solid start. After spending the summer at the Genome Institute of Singapore, where she worked on developing methods to identify SARS, Holmes was motivated to create her own disease detection techniques and technology. Holmes pitched her idea to one of her teachers who saw potential in it. The professor stated, "I realized that I could have just as well been looking into the eyes of Steve Jobs or Bill Gates." Okay, she was very serious about her plan, but what went wrong? We'll get to that shortly. With Robertson's help, Holmes founded her company, Real-Time Cures, which she subsequently renamed Theranos. Robertson became her mentor, initially acting as a volunteer director of the company before quitting academia to become a full-time employee. In September 2003, Holmes filed a patent application for a medical device for monitoring and medicine distribution. This would be the first of many. So with the development of a method for comprehensive blood tests, Holmes sought to change the healthcare sector. She began to work full-time for Theranos in the following year after leaving Stanford at 19. Edison's the big idea. It had finally been put to bed thanks to some research into the great idea of Holmes, but she'd come up with another crazy idea after that. Her plan was to replace the unpleasant needlework commonly employed for blood testing with a mentally intrusive procedure. Theranos aims to make this element of healthcare quick, pleasant, and economical. Elizabeth founded the firm Theranos with the goal of building a machine that could screen for a multitude of diseases using only a few drops of blood from a person's finger. It would democratize the testing process by allowing anyone to take a test at a pharmacy and have it accessed within hours. Elizabeth Holmes suggested using a special imaging system to make more people go for medical help when they need it, which could save lives. She often talked about her uncle who died from cancer and used his story to inspire people to save their loved ones. The system she named Edison aimed to change how blood testing works. Theranos, her company, wanted to charge much less than what the government pays for similar tests, which could save them a lot of money, around $200 billion in the next 10 years. Catching the attention of investors, she now had a make-believe technology proposal, but required funds to begin developing it. In addition to Holmes' zeal for the company and her transform-the-world beliefs, former employees, board members, former teachers, and others have characterized Holmes' steely-eyed attention and her very low speaking voice as among her greatest talents. Holmes used those to raise initial investment using multiple family connections. The first two investors in Theranos were Tim Draper, who was the father of her childhood friend and used to be her neighbor, and Victor Palmineri, a longtime friend of her father. By the end of 2004, Holmes had collected almost $6 million. Additionally, during Silicon Valley's peak popularity, Theranos secured a whopping $724 million in funding. Some big-name investors included Oracle's Larry Ellison and a rumored $100 million from Rupert Murdoch. Political figures like former Secretaries of State George Shultz and Henry Kissinger, along with former Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis, also joined Theranos' important board. But from here, the dark side of Holmes began to emerge. Actually, she did not allow any medical specialists into her board of directors. Why is that such a huge issue, you ask? Well, because none of the investors had extensive medical understanding. None of them, with the exception of perhaps Senator William Frist, had any idea what they were looking at. She was certainly crafty, and her confidence must have been infectious. In November 2013, Theranos made a big announcement. They teamed up with Walgreens, the second largest pharma company in the United States. They set up Theranos blood testing booths in about 40 of Walgreens stores. Interestingly, Walgreens decided to partner with Theranos even before they had any test results. This move was a major step for Theranos in achieving its goal of making blood testing accessible to every American. By 2014, the company had gathered more than $400 million in funding and was valued at over $9 billion. According to Forbes magazine, Elizabeth Holmes was worth $4.5 billion, making her the youngest self-made female billionaire. She also became known for her wardrobe inspired by Steve Jobs. Just like him, she only wore black turtleneck sweaters in public. Here's a shocking fact. All funding was given on the condition that Theranos did not have to reveal how the technology worked. With Holmes grabbing more than 50% of the company's stock, on top of that from the start, Holmes was unwaveringly secretive about how Edison worked. She gave little away, using vague explanations of the technology that seemed a bit suspicious to anyone shining lights on lies. Not everyone was convinced. In 2015, John Carreyrou, a writer who won the Pulitzer Prize twice for the Wall Street Journal, exposed the truth about Elizabeth Holmes. He worked very hard to uncover what was truly happening at Theranos, talking to employees who shared a much different story from the impressive public image. Some said the results from Edison were wrong, and others disclosed that most tests were done using regular machines bought from well-known suppliers instead of in Theranos facilities. On top of that, many employees knew Holmes's machine couldn't be built. As one says, you can't just bend your way around the laws of physics. You can't just have a great marketing campaign and get around those things. Exposing the scam. After John's story was published, the Securities and Exchange Commission of the United States launched an inquiry. This one story caused Holmes's entire Theranos hoax to fail. Theranos' initial reply was surprising. Holmes disputed the allegations against her and the company. Theranos even threatened to sue John, who had become the company's perceived nemesis. Nonetheless, in 2018, Holmes stepped down as CEO and alongside former company president Ramesh Balwani was charged with criminal fraud, having allegedly misled investors and deliberately made false claims about the deficiency of the company's blood testing technology. 3 months later, the company officially shut down following an investigation by the FBI, leaving thousands of former employees, many of whom John found to be talented people with integrity, unaware of the company's fraudulent activity, uncertain about their future. How have so many smart people been fooled for so long? Despite having nothing to show them, she quickly attracted attractive investors. The answer could be that she was really persuasive. That is why, despite the fact that she was surrounded by clever people, she was able to pull off a $10 billion hoax on her own. With new management and structure, Theranos says it is excited to advance its technology. However, with or without Elizabeth Holmes, Theranos will have a difficult time living down its notoriety. And this concludes our video of Elizabeth Holmes' $10 billion swindle. I hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more similar videos.